Well, guys, it's great to see you all here, and thank you so much for investing in AI Playbook. But it's over to you now. I've written the book, I've done the hard work, I've done the practice, and my practice continues because, hey, we're all trying to go from AI zero to hero. But please do take the book, leave it on your desk, dip in and out, and apply it in your own workplace because you now are an important AI influencer. And as you know, I'm trying to build a total tribe of AI for good. So I want you to make your AI intentions. And I think potentially they're already clear because you have committed to investing in the book and being here today. And if you're watching the replay, hello and sorry you couldn't make it live. But any questions that you have afterwards, drop me a note and I'll be happy to answer them. And in terms of AI intentions, what I mean by that is, how are you going to embrace it? Number one is literacy. That's absolutely key. That's the first rung on the ladder. The book will give you all the literacy that you need. There's an index, a glossary of terms. And if you listen to my podcast, AI 6, it's 6 minutes a day. As AI evolves, I will commit to teaching you because I have this kind of value in my business. And the value is even if we never do business, you can learn from me. The monthly free webinars, buying the book, you get this webinar and the podcast and blog post. So make an intention to become AI literate because if you can talk about AI in the rooms where you are influencing, and maybe it's influencing up or influencing across, that's really important because a lot of people are fearful, and with fear comes paralysis or analysis. So that's the first thing, AI literate. The second thing is an AI use case or AI use cases. How are you going to demonstrate the difference that AI can make? And we do that through AI pilots. So choosing one task or a series of tasks and showing the before and after. And I'll give you a little bit of a few tips on that. And then thirdly, I'd say the intention is this is a preview to tomorrow's podcast, the FOMA. So it is the opportunity that AI provides. Some people have a fear of missing out mindset. Some people have a fear of messing up mindset, but all of us have a mindset of identifying the AI opportunity for me. Okay. So, with all of that said, in making your AI intentions to be here, to be AI literate, and to bring it into your workplace, the next thing is developing an AI marketing use case. There's lots of them in the book that you can dip in, but it doesn't matter how small the AI use case is. What you need to do is to be able to articulate and explain how AI is adding value and also what guardrails you're putting in place to protect your organization and to, I guess, human proof the end product that AI is providing. And that's where policy comes in. And there's a whole chapter on the book From Policy to Practice. But really identifying where AI adds value and being able to map that out, the before, the after, and explaining the value. So I will talk about use cases as I show you the tools, and we can have conversations and brainstormings throughout this session as well. And this is something that I shared at the book launch and at an event in Galway last week, but many of you weren't here. And I just want to go through this. So this is kind of where we want to be going as leaders in our field. And as you know, I say it constantly, marketing and communications professionals and business owners and whatever role you have, we're perfectly placed to lead the AI revolution because AI is communications, it's not coding. We don't even need to code because the bots can do us for us. But what we need to do is to be able to articulate clearly to the bots, to our stakeholders, to our staff and our citizens, how we're using AI and how it's benefiting them. So at the bottom of this kind of knowledge base of AI are AI tools. So we're using Copilot, we're using Claude, we're using ChatGPT, we're using Canva AI, we're using Perplexity. So we're using standalone AI tools to help us with productivity, efficiency, creativity, and taking away the drudge that is in all of our everyday working lives. So that's kind of the entry level to AI. And with ChatGPT having 800 million weekly users, it's fair to say that AI is now mainstream. Whether it's approved at work or whether it's not, we are using it. So that's the entry level of AI. The next level where we want to be going, and I'm going to show you this today in practice, is how to create our own AI assistants. So this is whereby we use the AI tools, we use the AI technology, and we are training it. I'll just ask everyone to mute. Thank you. And we use the AI technology along with our own, and it's called a corpus. I believe that word is in my glossary of terms on my index. It's a corpus, and a corpus is a bank of knowledge. And what you need to do is you need to start organizing your corpus. Okay, I don't care where you hold it, if it's in SharePoint, Google Drive, Dropbox, but I want you to start organizing your repository of knowledge. Because what we can do, and what I'll demonstrate a little bit later, is that we're going to take all of that knowledge, we're going to combine it with the AI technology, and we're going to create an assistant. And it uses the technical term is RAG, and that is, I've had a brain freeze, but RAG is basically where your knowledge is used to train the AI assistant, okay? Because what we can have in AI is hallucination, making things up. And ChatGPT has a little disclaimer going, hey, sometimes I get things wrong. Please double check. So what we want to do is we want to train the assistant in as much of our knowledge base as possible. And that knowledge base can be text, PDFs, Word docs, it can be audio, it can be video, it can be spreadsheets, it can be databases. So it's the data that's fueling the AI assistant to become more knowledgeable for us and to become more truly valuable and to become more like an assistant that we will use every day. Because currently what you're doing is you're probably like using the tools and starting the task over and over again. Hey, ChatGPT, can you please, help me write this press release, write a social media plan? And you're starting from scratch, and that's not very efficient. So what we can do is we can actually train the assistant, just like you would train a new hire, just like somebody coming on a graduate program. You would read them into a brief, you would onboard them with videos, with shadowing you, with attending meetings. So all of that we are doing with our AI assistant. The same premise occurs. So after we get to that level and we have an assistant that is trained in our knowledge base and that can complete tasks for us as good, hopefully, as we would do them ourselves, then we move on to agentic AI, and I'll show you a tool that you can use for that. And in fact, ChatGPT have introduced agentic AI into pro and premium versions too. So agentic AI is at the level where we should be going in the next 12 months. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do. Start at your entry level, move up, and try and get to having the skills and the understanding of agentic AI. Suffice to say, agentic AI needs a lot of oversight and needs a lot of governance. Agents are independent, autonomous assistants, and they work independently of us. Once we brief them, once we give them access to our systems, and they can read and interact with multiple systems simultaneously. So think about your CRM system, think about your website, think about email marketing, your social media management tool, having access to your website to add new articles or blogs. So your accounting system, your emails, they are hugely powerful because they can work independently without human oversight, and they can operate within multiple separate systems. So heretofore, maybe we'd have like Microsoft, and maybe Microsoft agent would only be able to operate in the environment of the Microsoft world, or Google Workspace, maybe that agent could only operate within the Google Workspace world. And yes, there are agentic capabilities within those, but the power of agentic AI in something like Zapier or NR8 or now ChatGPT agentic AI is that they can read multiple systems. The system and the platform is completely irrelevant, and they will complete a whole suite of tasks for us. So just like you and I have to log in to multiple platforms every single day to complete different tasks, the reality is right now that agents can do that for us. It's remarkable. It really is remarkable. And it probably ignites some excitement in you. The other part of you, the human part of you, goes, oh, what if it gets it wrong? And that's a lot of power to give to a bot. Might the bot ultimately become boss? And what does that do with me? Do I become redundant? No, absolutely not. The promise in the book is that if you learn AI and you embrace it, you have just added to your value, your human value, your professional value, and your relevance right now. And I talk about you plus me, you plus me plus AI is better. And that's definitely the promise. So those are the three layers of AI right now where your ambition should be. Okay. That's where I'm encouraging you to go. Give yourself, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, 12 months. Think about this as your professional development plan. And if you are having these conversations with your boss, or HR, say that to them. Say, I have an ambition to be able to level up to really understand and lead out in agentic AI in our organization. And can I be trained in that? And thanks to Bobby for helping my brain freeze. Retrieval augmented generation. Or is retrieving the information from your corpus, from your knowledge base. Augmenting is using all of that along with a prompt to create something new. And then the generation, it's like the AI, it generates something from a prompt. So really powerful, and it all exists. So another intention, I want to be a comms and marketing professional or a business leader working in my own business who has the capability, the literacy, the competency, and the confidence to move from using AI tools to creating AI assistants to then creating and scaling agentic AI within my organization. Okay, any questions at this stage? You can unmute or you can put them into chat. And I love the diversity of people that we have in the room. No questions. Okay, who wants to create a custom GPT? Who wants to move from just using tools to creating our own assistant? Let's do it. Let's do it. So let's open up ChatGPT. You need to have the pro or the premium versions. If you don't, that's okay. You can watch along, and this is being recorded. Pro is €20 a month, so nothing that will break the bank, but just to be able to see RAG in action. So let me open up my browser here. And I'm going to put this into chat also. That's the direct link to get in. Okay. Okay, so you can see that people have been busy. We have some trending GPTs, custom GPTs. We have some featured ones like Canva is in there. And so there are systems and tools that have already integrated into ChatGPT, which means that we can use them within the platform. And we're free to use any of these. There's some by ChatGPT, there's some under the writing category, there's some under the productivity category, some under research and analysis, some under education and lifestyle. So you can explore the whole range of GPTs that are already there and that are published within OpenAI's platform. But what we want to do is we want to really create our own AI assistant. So we're moving from using ChatGPT as a daily tool that we all use to actually seeing what it can do for ourselves. So if you have the pro version at this stage in the top right hand corner of your screen, you should be able to see create. And honestly, they're making this so simple. And that's what I want to remind you. While this will be new, when I think of UX and UI, like design and user interfaces, they are making these so clean, not cluttered, because what they want is they want us to embrace it and they don't want us to be overwhelmed, which is great. And also, what I would say is, I really feel that AI is the democratization of technology. It's open to anyone and everyone. And as I learned at Harvard, one of the big takeaways this summer was the people who are going to win in the AI race are those of us, and everyone in this room has it, are domain experts, right? So a domain expert is somebody who has a niche area of expertise. And we all have one, right? Call mine public sector marketing and communications, right? We all have a domain area of expertise. And when you bring that niche expertise and all our lived experience, all that intuitiveness that just comes with a feeling, you think about the last door or the last room or the last virtual room that you walked into in the last 24 hours that was work related. You were able to show up probably with, maybe you didn't have notes prepared or a presentation, it was just a meeting, you had your pen and paper or your iPad or whatever you brought with you. But when you walked into that room, you had a level of intuitiveness that was gained through years of experience, years of interactions with colleagues, having winning projects, having projects that weren't so winning, the losing, the winning, and everything in between. That's what we bring to the AI age. And that's what domain expertise is. And that we all bring something new. Like you could go onto YouTube today and learn everything that I'm teaching you, but we're all together because we're connected by the book, I guess, and just connected by a shared interest of, being in as part of this group together. And so we want to create our own GPT. So before we do anything, let's have a brainstorm. What will your assistant do? Rather than giving your assistant the power to do everything, let's give them or him or her, whatever pronoun you want to give your assistant. I call it her because she's like my assistant and she's like a mini me. So what will your assistant do? Rather than giving her or him or they so many tasks, I would prefer to create a few different assistants that have different skill sets. So, I mean, mine might be the AI 6 podcast editor, right? Because I have to write a daily podcast. And what I do, how my current process for that is I have a note on my phone called podcast ideas. And when I'm going through TikTok or listening to news or scrolling anywhere or subscribe to newsletters, I write down my idea. My next step is that I voice note my feelings or my ideas on it into an app called VoicePal. And so VoicePal collects all my thought bubbles. And then I'll throw that into ChatGPT and then it will kind of draft it out. But I'm sure that I could get my AI6 podcast editor to actually do a lot of that work for me. So that's going to be my assistant. Fiona says the cafe menu for new employees. Okay. So Fiona, you want to have an assistant that teaches the menu of the cafe to new employees. Is that right? And feel free to unmute if you wish. How the plates should look, etc. Okay. So is there
There probably would be a few things. Sorry, I have got Bluey going on in the background, so please pass no heed.
no
Um,
problem?
um, yeah, how the end result should look. Maybe just a few bits and pieces. Something. The idea was to integrate the ChatGPT with what that maybe. I still haven't worked out how to do that. But yeah, how the plates should look going out so that they don't have to be asking somebody all the time. They can just
Mm-hmm.
check
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
and any other.
So part of your RAG content that you will give will be photographs of these plates and how they look, right?
Yes, correct.
Amazing. Love it. So this is a question that is asked of new employees all the time, and Fiona and her colleagues are answering the same questions over and over. Perfect use for an AI assistant. Very niche. Anyone else got any ideas for their assistant? Yes, and let me know how to pronounce your name. Please unmute. Agia? Gaia?
No, hi, it's Aggie.
Aggie. Oh, well, thank you. So content creator for social media. And Aggie, I would ask you a follow-up question. What social networks do you need your assistant to work on? Is it one? Is it many?
It would be many, and really kind of working towards the LinkedIn, Instagram, and Meta, and having them really tailored specifically to the audiences as well.
Excellent. Okay, good. So we want to be specific. Yulia, again, let me know if I pronounced your name correctly and unmute if you wish. And your question, I just wonder, what is the use of an AI in the case and not just a database stored somewhere? So your question is, oh, for the cafe one, you're bringing it back to Fiona. Yes. So is your question, is this a database somewhere, or where does AI bring the value? The value of the AI assistant is that it becomes more intelligent and trained in the more that we use it. So while we will use RAG to train our assistant now, the more that we interact with it, the more perfect she will get, as perfect as she can get. And another thing that I should say that Yulia's question prompts me on, we're uploading our information to ChatGPT. You know what I mean? So we got to be careful about this. I mean, if your AI or if your IT people were on this call, they'd be going, no, don't have anyone uploading any confidential or proprietary information to ChatGPT, because guess what? That is owned by us. And what, by creating an assistant here, what it will do is it will use our information on one hand. It will also combine it with the knowledge base that's within ChatGPT. Okay? So it's combining both, and you've got to be aware of that. So while it will be more tailored, you still need to check it from a human perspective. Okay? When we were in Harvard, they give us access to their custom GPT equivalent of this that we're looking at, and it was called ping pong. So we were operating in what's called a sandbox environment. And maybe that's what, there's some government agencies in this room, quite a lot of you, and maybe that's where we want to go is, and Llama from Meta allows you to do their to use their technology. So I'm creating AIJ and I am creating her in a sandbox environment. And I'm using Llama as the open source AI technology because Meta, that's their gift to us. Of course, there's something in it for them too, but that's another class. But you can download the technology and you can have it in an enclosed environment that would be set up by your IT team on in-house servers or on protected servers. And so I might as well teach you that while we're doing this, just so that you have that knowledge that you can create your own assistants in an environment where it doesn't have access to the internet and it doesn't have access to a large language model. And that's the one that I want to create for myself, that hopefully I'll be able to, you know, offer clients and students that's solely trained on just me. Okay, good. Grania says, yeah, a thought leadership generator and maybe an idea generator, and maybe they'll go beyond generating the idea to maybe the outline, and then you can take it and give that to one of your colleagues who is a subject matter expert and they could build it out, or they could create drafts. Nice. Katrina, can it help draft email responses? I'm not sure if this is more suited to other tools such as agents. It absolutely can help draft email responses. Now, Copilot within Microsoft would have that functionality built in. So if you even open up your email Outlook, and on the right hand side there's a window and it's got the Copilot icon, it'll actually tell you what actions you need to take. And maybe I can do that by showing you my inbox without showing you a private email. So I'm going to take a note, and maybe during the break I'll have a look. But let's try an email assistant, but probably within the Microsoft environment is the best place to do that. No worries. Jack, a content creation translation bot specifically for the Irish language. Jack, the person who creates the very first Irish language translation assistant is going to be a very rich person, because there's a lot of people that wants it. And as you well know, and you're maybe a native speaker or you're working with the Irish language on a regular basis, it's not the easiest language to learn, right? It's one of the more complex. And there are very good translation tools out there. And I'm trying to remember the one that many EU institutions are using. Starts with D and it's a German company. It is DeepL. DeepL. I think that's how you spell it. It's got really good reviews. And what you're going to, yes, that's correct, Katrina, Llama from Meta. What you're seeing happening now with the likes of DeepL, that's proving to be competent in translation, is that it's been integrated into tools like OpenAI. Okay, where else are we going? Okay, good. Okay. Thank you, and you're helping each other out. Thank you so much. You're all my human assistants. Appreciate that, guys. And let's go back one, Orla, to see. Do you have ChatGPT Pro, Orla?
Yeah, I do. And actually, I see now where the configure is. Sorry, I hadn't seen that before. So thank you. I thought I'd an inferior version or something.
No worries.
Thanks so much. And thanks again, Grania.
Okay. So let's us go and go back to our assistants here. Okay, great. I have this plugin over here and it's really annoying. I want to create a new one. So let's go here. Okay, so let's go. We can configure, absolutely. Create, configure. We're going to configure it because we're going to customize it ourselves. So first of all, we could upload a photo. Okay, so why not give it an icon? Yeah. we actually created the AI6 logo for the podcast using AI because we thought, why not? Or you can use DALL-E that is integrated into ChatGPT, and that'll open it, and then you can give it a prompt and potentially create one for you. Okay, so let's give it a name. Your assistant needs a creative name, and the names should suggest what it's going to do. So in my case, it's going to be the AI6 podcast editor. Okay, then we're going to give it a description of what it can do for us. So you will create AI6 podcast scripts from prompts and notes used to research podcast episode. And you can see on the right hand side, it is creating our assistant. And again, it's just like opening up ChatGPT, right? So we're having our own interface. I mean, you can write more, but honestly, it's just a short descriptor underneath the title. So 1 to 2 sentences is fine. So I'll give you a minute to do that. Okay. And again, don't wait for perfect. You can redo this exercise at some stage after class. If like me, you get brain freeze intermittently. Stage of my life, I'm afraid. Or maybe you're feeling creative, and of course you can use ChatGPT to help you also. Next, it's instructions, but have a look at the gray text in the prompt box. And it says, what does this GPT do? How does it behave? And what should it avoid doing? This is really important. With the brief that we're going to give it to tell it everything that we want it to do, it is equally important to tell it what it shouldn't do and how it should behave. Because we're now stepping into, I guess, governance and ethics. And it's really important that we are giving it parameters, okay? So examples would be, for me, do not, and this is for everyone, do not give me a response until you are 100% confident that you can give me a correct answer. So what we're doing here is we're trying to mitigate hallucinations. We can never do it 100%. So we always check the output before we release it to a client or to the internet, okay? Another thing that I don't want it to do is I don't want it to infer nuance or cultural representations, things like that. I would prefer it to ask me clarifying questions, because we know as business owners and as communicators that context is everything, right? Context is everything. So ask it always to ask you clarifying questions. Maybe in my case, it shouldn't, write me a script that is beyond 6 minutes long, because my podcasts are 6 minutes. So it should always be under 6 minutes. Maybe it should write in UK English. Maybe it should write in US English. Maybe it should use numbers up to number 10, or use words for numbers up to number 9, and then 10 and beyond. Maybe it's use numerical figures. So we're kind of giving it instructions. Now, if you have a tone of voice, we'll upload that in the knowledge base. But for now, it's just key instructions. So I'm going to write mine. Oh, Ginger, great question. And maybe that's a task for me afterwards, and I will commit to any tasks that you give me. Ginger's question is there a list of examples of what this assistant can do to inspire us to think outside the box? Well, maybe let me give you a prompt. Maybe this will help for people that have a bit of kind of brain freeze or creative freeze. What is a task that you have to do every week or every month? So I'm committed to my podcast and I have to batch produce when I'm busy. So think about something that is a repeatable task. A repeatable task. And maybe we can just throw some ideas into chat. So we've got social media. We've got writing emails, responding to emails. We have, for us, businesses in the room, creating pitches. And we probably say the same thing over and over again, but we customize it depending on the client. Creating pitches. Maybe we have to do monthly analytics reports. Yeah. Maybe we have to write copy. Maybe we have peer reviews. So maybe we're reviewing our colleagues. Maybe we have to write summaries. Yeah, campaign briefs. That's a good one, Bobby. Maybe we have to write an exec summary of long reports. These could be research. I've got some researchers in the room. Scientific reports, academic reports, annual reports, right? Thinking about something that's happens on a regular basis. Okay, so let's get into our instructions. And we want to be detailed here, okay? So you are tasked, and you can copy me if you want. You are tasked with writing my AI 6 podcast scripts, and that's daily 6-minute podcast. Professionals in AI. Covers news, tools, evolving technologies, case studies, use cases. Yeah, some nice additions there from Katrina in chat. So at the weekend, you will write the intro to the long listen. Thanks for sharing what you're doing, guys. This is really helpful for everyone. So again, as I'm writing, I'm thinking about all the steps in my tasks. I think and write and talk at the same time. I like all of my all of them to be going at the same time. It helps me think, but maybe you like a pen and paper and to write the steps down first and then put it in, whatever works for you. Purpose it for a blog post. You will take my audio files where I drop my ideas, my perspectives, my questions, and any research I have done, including YouTube videos. Like I would use Gemini a lot to find YouTube videos of clips that I can use in the podcast because it's an audio podcast, audio first podcast, and it just adds to it. And my own work. Okay. What else does she need to do? Great, Michelle. Michelle asked hers to follow the Associated Press style, which is a newspaper style in the US that I use. Yes, and you don't like the Oxford style. Good. Yeah, excellent. So you can add in then, what do you want it to avoid? So I will say you will write in UK. English. Speak in my conversational tone. I'm going to say listen to previous episodes. You will avoid hallucinations by asking me clarifying questions, until you are 100% confident that you can answer the question. Now, okay, please take the 100% confidence levels also with a pinch of salt. We got to test her and road test her and see how she can perform. What else do we don't want her to do? I want you to avoid taking ideas from other sources. I always credit sources' work. And so citing source is key. And this is a nice one. I want my assistant to question me. Because again, if I'm in a room with a group of you, it's easier for me than if I'm on my own, because you ask me questions and that allows me to think deeper or bring in other perspectives. So I want my assistant to also question me. And I think that's a nice, because you've got back and forth. And when somebody asks you a question, you're like, oh, I never thought of that. And then you think of new information. So let's add that. I would like you to question me to help develop my own critical thinking, because isn't that one of the criticisms of AI, that we're going to use, gosh, all that years of critical thinking that we've built up? I don't think we will, but let's not hand it over. Jack says, is it best to use natural language when creating instructions, or to go with something more structured, such as JSON, which is kind of used in code, right? I mean, let's test it. Maybe let's test it, because what you want to do is maybe start with natural language, see how it goes. Then you can always go back and update your instructions and maybe test. And actually, maybe you put both in and ask it to give you two windows. So it'll open up the canvas with option A and option B so that you can test. Good question. Okay. And always with this, you'll think of things after the fact, and that's okay. Okay. Conversation starters. You can see, what do I want my assistant to say to me? Hey, Jojo, let's write a podcast. So that's kind of just a little bit of fun to inspire me. And it's, again, getting us off that blank sheet. So anytime I go into my assistant, it'll say, hey, Jojo, let's write a podcast. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to upload our knowledge bank. And I'm going to do that. I am going to give it MP3 files from my podcast, so it can hear my voice. Obviously, it'll have the transcript of it. So what I'm going to do is stop sharing for the moment while I upload these. And again, I'm happy to upload these because guess what? They're all publicly available anyway, aren't they? So I would suggest you start with something where you're very comfortable to give it something that's in the public domain, that's not private. Because what I want you to get out of this is to see the capability, but also to spark ideas of the potential, but then to have a conversation either with yourself, if you're solo, or with colleagues and going, I think we should start testing. Okay. So let you upload your knowledge bank and I will upload my knowledge bank here. So I've got 6 files there. Maybe I'll give it one more. Obviously, the more you give it, the better trained it is. Again, think about a human. The more we get trained as human, the more information we have, the better we become, the more competent we become. And of course, these assistants can learn in seconds. We're a bit slower. Okay, so that one's too long. Let's just get a mix of files. Okay, so that's a few to start with. Okay, let's go back. Okay. Okay. Have you found some file that you're comfortable with uploading? And then we have the model. It's like, oh, recommend a model to the user, which should be used for default by best results. A lot of people would argue that 4.0 was ChatGPT's best model. It had least hallucinations, was quick, was intelligent. Some people aren't really happy with 5, and then 5 thinking is deep research, deep thinking mode. I'm going to say no recommended, and allow the model to just choose depending on what it feels like. Again, we can always go back to our instructions and change things up, which we should do, right? Next, we have capabilities. So this is where you're giving it permission and instruction to learn beyond your own corpus, your own knowledge base. So do you want it to have access to web search? Maybe you do. That's okay. Do you want it to open up the canvas within ChatGPT where it'll give you option A, option B? Yeah. Do you want it to do image generation? Potentially. Sometimes I do create like little graphics. You know, like I used one for a presentation last week on here's my agentic AI. And rather than going into Canva and spending too much time, I just got it to create something for me. It was grand, did the job. And then this is where it gets exciting. Code interpreter is where it can run code for you. So it can start coding for us also. So when we enable this GPT can analyze data, work with your uploaded files, generate downloadable files, perform math and more. So it's got this kind of analytical skill set built into it. I might include that because maybe at some stage I will expand the remit of my podcast editor to analyze my analytics, right? So the analytics I will have will be from Buzzsprout, they'll be from my email, my CRM, they'll be from social media, they'll be from YouTube. And then you could kind of add more actions here. If you've got like third-party authentication, like you want to plug it in to other platforms, you could do it there. But let's keep her light. And any questions? How did you get on? Have it configured? So maybe what I'm going to do now is I'm going to upload a note. Actually, I'm going to record a note on my phone and I'm going to upload it to my podcast editor and I'm going to see how she performs in writing a podcast for me. So I will mute myself and turn my camera off while you're still working. Okay, so I just brain dumped for about 3 or 4 minutes and let's see. I love voice, my friends. I just using voice into the apps because it's a rich stream of consciousness. It doesn't feel laborious or a task. And so I would encourage you to use voice on ChatGPT. See, I was just like downloading my voice. recording my voice in ChatGPT, saved it in a note here, and let's put it into the assistant. Okay, so let's see how the assistant is doing. So here is the notes that I kind of voiced. A thought for 7 seconds. And here is the script. Let's evaluate. So again, it's even adding sound effects. So Lachlan is my podcast editor. So I will upload my audio files to G Drive, and then he checks it and edits them, and he sends them back into a new folder. So we've got a really nice process going. Okay, so this might be an episode for next week. The idea was how to turn you into an AI leader within 12 months. Just like that pyramid that I showed you. And you can see it's got the timestamp. So again, right up to 6 minutes, probably including my music, optional show notes, the 3 tiers. Yes, please, let's do show notes for Buzzsprout. I usually add 150 words. Make sure they are SEO optimized for the podcast channels. So now, rather than me using VoicePal, going in and opening a blank sheet, so VoicePal will transcribe my notes and collect them. I put them into a Google Word doc and then I'll edit. Maybe now I can use my AI assistant and tidy that up. And of course here, look, we can dictate, so we can use voice. So this is an easier process for me. It's taking away multiple steps and I'm operating solely within my assistant. And the more that I use her for the podcast, I would say after a daily podcast, after 30 days, she's going to be as sharp as a razor. So there you go. I have a new AI assistant created along with you guys in a couple of minutes. Did anyone else get further along? Did you get to that stage to test? Go less than 12 words. What have we got here? Let me see. Where are you all? Okay. No worries. My assistant has drafted under the name in the top left of the screen. Do I need to publish it? Ooh. Yes. Do you need to publish it? Yes. Potentially you do. Yes, you do. You do. Yeah, if you don't have the paid version, you can't follow the steps. What I would suggest is please invest €20 of your own money because you're going to benefit, and use it every day and use it to your best advantage, and set up some assistance. In an ideal world, your employer would be paying this for you. I got a couple of radio stations 3 weeks ago to set up their assistant. I showed them how during class, and I'm meeting them again next Wednesday week. So I gave them 3 weeks to use the assistant and to tell me what worked, what didn't work, and then I'll come back and we'll optimize it together. So you need to do it in practice. You know, the teaching is great, but we need to do it in practice. Grania says, yeah, I have outlines for 6 thought leadership and podcast ideas in line with their content pillars. Brilliant. So guys, an assistant is an assistant. I'm still battling with AI shame. I'm getting it all the time. You know, are we cutting corners? Are we cheating? Are we minimizing us as professionals? No, we're not. We are adding value. You plus AI is better. Don't believe me, believe the professors at Harvard. You know, it's as simple as they said it. And if we just don't do it, then, you know, what are we going to be left on the shelf? You know what I mean? Ginger, I don't know if you're, I still get it. I still get it. And the main thing is I have a line that I had in a presentation last week, and I suggest we start using it. And it's I think I use it for our team. We use AI in our work and as part of process, but we Fiona, if you want to schedule a GPT to do research, you're talking about agentic AI. So that would be the next level. Okay, so we use not a basic question at all. So is this while you were training it, Michelle? You had an Excel and a PDF. Try PDFing the Excel, see if that works. As opposed to pasting, uploading. So maybe having some sort of AI disclaimer. We have to have our AI labels toggled on for social media, of course. See if that works for you. Okay. So that is agents. Let me give you a little break before we jump into other tools. And if you have questions tomorrow, next week, in 3 months' time related to anything that came up in the session, you just drop me an email and I will answer it for you. Okay? Let's take a 10-minute break. I will have a look at my email inbox and Copilot to see if I can show you something. And I will pause the recording. Remind me to hit replay when I come back. We'll come back in 10 minutes. I was able to find an email that I can share with you and use the example of, using Copilot to help us respond to our emails. Let's have a look. So you could start using this. So this is Social Media Examiner, who I love. And this is an email that I got from their e-zine on a new AI marketing industry report, which I actually did a podcast on earlier this week. So if you go to the right-hand side of your Outlook, you should see Copilot up here, okay? And what I did was I just went into chat here on the right-hand side. So you see, there's my day, right? There's my day. But then here I've got Copilot. I'm sure most of us are using Microsoft as our email provider. And I said, I want to write a response to this email to pitch Michael Stelzner to have me on his podcast as a guest to talk about AI and promote my book, AI Playbook, right? So obviously Copilot is taking the context from this email, which is great. Okay, so hi, inspired your report. Let's talk on the podcast. Hi, Michael. I'd love to join. Here's what I could talk about. I believe your audience. Warm regards, Joanne. Okay, so then again, I can go back and personalize it further. So this is a lovely little tool, you know what I mean, to help us get through the endless inbox of emails that, my God, I get anxious if I can't respond to somebody in 24 hours. And I know there's emails in my inbox that are there from potentially over a week ago, which makes me very anxious. So yeah, so Copilot as your email assistant to help clear those inboxes. Okay, let's go to Claude. Claude is wonderful for visualizing data. Now, I should say that I use mostly the paid versions of these tools, obviously to learn them, to teach them, to try and get the most out of them. So let me put this into chat. Claude is great. Claude is by Anthropic. It's a great copywriter. It's a great coder. And I love it for creating visuals. So I started now for my presentations and even for client meetings, asking Claude to do infographics from reports. So let's have a look at Claude. So this is Claude. And again, it's kind of giving me the prompt. So maybe, just maybe, I will get it to code an infographic for me, right? And I know a lot of you in this room have a lot of data, stats, and reports. And wouldn't you love to turn a lot of that information into visual infographics that you could put on your website? But it's not possible because we'd need to get time for a web developer to do it or outsource it to a web developer. Claude can do it. So let me go here and let me just stop sharing so I can get my files uploaded. Let me go here and add some files to Claude. And here we go. Some that I chose earlier, already ready to upload. So I'm uploading PDF social media reports. This is for an EU project that I'm part of a consortium with. And we manage the social as part of the comms, of course. So let's upload all the PDFs. And this is a year in review. So it's a year of data for 4 social networks. Okay, so let's go and have a look. We're back to Claude. I've uploaded the data here. Want to present these 4 cross-channel social media reports visually to my consortium partners. Can you code infographic with top takeaways? All the things that we normally like from a social media report. Top performing social network, audience insights, top performing social content and content format and key insights. Okay. So Claude is thinking. Again, this is the pro version. And you can see it opens up a canvas on the right-hand side. So it opens up a window and it is coding the infographic. And as that's coding, what I am going to do is I'm going to show you then. There's only one step then that I get my web developer ready to do. And let me just open that up. And what I get her to do is I get her to put it onto our URL. So I was able to show this at our consortium meeting in Budapest 2 weeks ago. And I gave everybody in the group one URL. So titlearts.eu/social media year in review. And I copied the code and I gave it to Riddy, and then she attached it to the URL. Wow, is this not amazing? Do you remember the days where we used to brief a designer and a software engineer or coder? Look at this. Get out your data and your stats and start playing with this. So 2 things you can do here. Now, if you publish this, which you don't want to, it's going to publish in Claude for everyone to see. We don't want that to happen because you're going to say to me, oh, Joanne, I want this as a nice PDF or a JPEG. No, what you do is here is the code. Here is the infographic view. If you don't want any changes, and of course you can have changes because we can go back to Claude and go, actually, I prefer it more visual. You know, this isn't visual enough. But what you want to do, there's one step. You go to the code, you copy the code, and you send an email to your webmaster and you say, give me this infographic as a URL. And maybe give them the URL that you want. So it might be /social media review 2025, right? And they will do that with one click of a button. Okay. So you can ask it to code anything, anything. Unreal. Oh, sorry, Katrina. Thank you. Claude. Let me put it into everyone. Yes, you can. That's the point, Grania. You can embed it into your website. Absolutely. Yeah. Unreal. So it can code numbers, it can code the written word, you could prompt it to code. We all learn better and we can present great comms information better with visuals. If Fiona says, I've done similar in Gemini, have you used it for this too? No, I use Claude. I tend to find a tool that can do something for me, and yeah, it does it. Now the others can do it too, like ChatGPT has coding capability, Canva AI. So if we jump over to Canva, but just try experimenting. This is another nice use case. Let's go to Canva. And if you're on Canva Pro, you can then see Canva AI. So click on Canva AI. If you're a nonprofit or if you're in education, Canva will give you Pro for free. If you're not, I mean, I think it's maybe they put the price up and then they brought it back down. I think I'm paying somewhere around €20 a month. It's a couple of us on our account. So Canva AI, it can do lots of things for us, but let's go to code. And here it's giving us some nice inspirational ideas. An interactive pricing calculator. I actually tested this in a class with somebody working in a government agency where multiples of figures were relevant depending on who the person was. So I don't know, maybe it's, you know, PRSI calculator. So depending on what rate tax band I'm on and my income, maybe I could calculate my take-home pay, considering all the other taxes we pay. Interesting. We can do an interactive historical timeline. Maybe your organization is celebrating a milestone like 40 years, 10 years. You could give it the data and it will create a timeline. An interactive menu, Fiona, for your restaurant, for your cafe. An interactive flashcard game. This is nice for those of us in education. A countdown timer to an event or a webinar that you have. A digital birthday card that explodes confetti. Might be nice for a colleague. A sorting activity for my class. A vocab matching game. A fun memory matching game. A color accessibility simulator. Or a 3D game exploring space. So maybe we will do, it's got some other interactive certificate. Let's do a countdown timer. Code a countdown timer to promote my next webinar on 20th of November on Meta shutting down. What I could do is put this countdown timer on the blog post or on the landing page. So again, it opens up a canvas on the right-hand side and you can watch it code. So anything animated, interactive, we can ask it to do. So what I want you to do is maybe have these tools open every day. And when a lot of our tasks are creative, right, we're creating from nothing, start using these as assistants, because in the early days of using the tools, it's capability and ideation that we're trying to come up with. So again, it's going to create, the countdown is going to give me code, but it's also going to allow me to edit it within Canva also. I think we've got a question here. Oh, question on the environmental cost of using AI. I think I must have a podcast on that. I think what's really, really important here is how we mitigate the environmental impact of our footprint. And I think it should be in our, in our environmental policy. So while we're introducing AI into our workflows, we should probably be calculating how much that's increasing our carbon footprint and how we're offsetting that. What they say is that AI can be used and should be used to improve our environmental or carbon footprint. But there are ways that we can mitigate it. So some large language models, some companies will have their own ethical policy where they are counteracting the energy that they're taking from their data centers, because we know that they exploit our water in a huge way. They also exploit energy use in a huge way. So maybe we want to choose companies that are offsetting it, and we need to do it in another way. Some people would argue that we are, by virtue of us using technology in a more efficient way, we're saving on AI versus the long form way that we used to do it. But certainly it's a consideration and it does come up a lot. But it might be something that you put into your ESG policy and try and figure out what usage that you're using. Okay, so there we go. There is the countdown clock all set up and ready to go. And you can see I can show the code, so I could embed it into my website, or I can go ahead and go into Canva and use it in a design. Maybe I want to use it in my website, a presentation, or a whiteboard. So we can customize when we're in there. Okay, so nice. Let's see, Nano Banana. Let's have a look at this. This one is from Google. Google has VO3, which is set to rival Sora 2, which is the video creation tool from OpenAI that says is going to transform Gen AI video creation. They're not great at the moment. Let's face it, they're not. Sora 2 hasn't come to Europe yet. I believe you guys that are in the US, you do have it, but it falls under their Pro subscription in OpenAI. But Nano Banana is interesting. Also the name, very interesting. But this is pretty slick. So what we can do is we can edit images. So you can upload images and you can change that image in some way. What I've noticed a good use case is for anyone who's got products like food or e-commerce. They're able to put their product in a different context. So a product in seasonal, so Halloween or Thanksgiving or Christmas, your product then will have a background. So rather than setting up the background, Nano Banana can do it great. So we can do text to image. So let's create a futuristic scene where bots are controlling the workplace and humans are the assistants. Show me an office environment. So this is just to show you how much Gen AI is coming on. And you can see I'm using credits, and that's how it's going to work with Gen AI image creation and video creation. We're going to be using credits or tokens. And they use a lot. Wow, that was quick. That was really quick. I was waiting for it to load and then it came. So here you can say, look, it's got this company called Omnicore. It's quite realistic. It's quite futuristic. I can download it, or I can go back and ask it to go again. So heretofore, this would have taken maybe 2 or 3 minutes to generate. However, it's not even taking 44 seconds. It's doing it in, maybe it is less than 20 seconds. So these are going to become highly futuristic. You might not use that in your marketing, but it's kind of fun to experiment with. But what you might do is start using this. Now I'm using the paid version. The free version will give you some credits to use. I think you get 3 credits. But the whole idea here is that the proficiency of Gen AI creation is going to be such that it's going to be super realistic. For those of us working in marketing and comms, we probably don't want you to lose authenticity, real photography, and just showing something the way it is. But for anything that's a bit more abstract, it can be useful. What some people say is, if you're generating a new concept, like say for a book cover or for an event brand or for a campaign brand, these Gen AI tools can be really good for early days of ideation. And I've had graphic designers say that to me. If you can give me something that describes what you're visualizing in a Gen AI created image, that might save my process by a day, right? Because they're ideating from a blank page. So these kind of tools are kind of useful to even do that. Okay, Nano Banana. Let's go to something then that's a bit more elevated or more sophisticated, and this is N8N. And N8N is agentic AI. And it's just to kind of give you a quick look at these tools. You can set up an account for absolutely free. They'll prompt you to do a paid free trial, but you can skip it. And all this is creating a workflow. And they do it in modules. So if you think about, let's say, when I have a webinar, there's a number of steps that Joanna needs to take in our marketing process to get that webinar to you guys, to get it on our website, to have it as a replay, to get it on the blog, to get it on social. So Joanna has about 7 steps to take. But I now can create a whole modular workflow, and I can link all of my systems. So the systems that I would be linking here are Zoom, because it was recorded on Zoom. The next system that I would be connecting here is Webinar Kit, because that's where we host the replay. Then I would connect access to my website because it needs to create a page. It also needs to have a form, which is created in ActiveCampaign, which is our CRM database. It also needs to email all the people that signed up for that webinar who might not have attended live, so they get access through the CRM. Then I'm going to give it access to Agorapulse, which is my social media management tool where we promote the replay. And then I might give it access to my writing assistant in ChatGPT so it knows my tone of voice. So I'm now creating a workflow that's called monthly webinar. That's agentic AI. You will need to have a paid version of N8N, but it might be useful to just create a workflow as a pilot as part of your building up AI capability within your team, and always start within your team and start with a fixed process. So that's available. N8N is one. Another one is Zapier, and that's been around for years. That's kind of like the OG integration tool that we as marketers would have used to get systems to read systems. And then we have OpenAI, agentic AI. I think that's what they call it. Okay. So there are 3 options that you can use. So start playing around. And what you would be doing here is you would be testing your workflow. Because remember what happens once you trigger this workflow and it's set on a schedule, like Fiona asked earlier, could I give my assistant, put it on a schedule to research? You want to do this in agentic AI. Once it triggers and it does it, it's going to do it on its own. You're not going to be in the loop unless you add an end step that says, email me first with the email that's going to include the link to the replay that's on my website that I can test it before it goes to everyone else, which is something that you'd probably want to do. But after that is tested, it would be a process that would happen independently and on its own. Fascinating, right? So potentially as homework and takeaways, and I'm going to kind of write this up into a bit of an article and an action plan to you when you get the replay. I'm thinking about AI tools. Choose your tools. AI assistant. Create a custom assistant in ChatGPT. Narrow, not broad. Step 2. And then step 3 is setting up an agentic AI workflow. In that's probably what you want to do for the next 6 months to build in a pilot in the organization. That's where I would go. And it's only by doing that you can perfect, but you want to have some use cases at the end of that. And it's quite exciting because you've kind of built out an AI roadmap, but it's only you that can decide on which tasks and which systems should we integrate. Doesn't have to be sophisticated. In fact, I tend to start with something that's kind of commonplace and normal and easy, just because we're testing process first. And as you're doing this, you could actually be writing your policy in tandem, because when you're doing this, you probably have better visibility. You don't have blinkers on of actually what questions we need to be asking ourselves, what protections we need to put in place, what tools will we use, will we pay for them, can we get them trialed and allowed on our devices by IT. So what you've got to do is think of use cases for each of these AI roadmap steps. That makes sense? Yeah. Any questions? Observations? Ideas? Overwhelm? Still scary, right? Fear of messing up. Yeah, so much. There is so much to think about.
Sorry for the silence, Joanne.
Hi, Katrina.
No, just I was just saying to Alison in our chat here that I like the pace of like it's been easy to follow. So I just wanted to thank you for that.
No bother. I guess knowing you guys, you're going to go back and start brainstorming what use cases you might come up with, because you'll
Yeah.
have many.
Yeah, we've already been doing that in the chat.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joanne.
And it's nice that you have each other to bounce off and the rest of the team.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's hard when you're on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone else got an idea or a thought? Michelle says, how does the AI assistant work more effectively than just using the regular prompt? So Michelle, with the assistant, it knows what you want and you don't have to brief it every single time. And the more that you use it, the more accurate it becomes and the more of a real human assistant it becomes. Yeah, ChatGPT can kind of remember previous conversations, but this is more specific to a particular task and it will just become more usable, I think, more relevant, more tailored.
That makes sense. And then the other question I had real quickly, Joanne, was the benefit from going from Plus to Pro. The ones I see is like $200 a month for Pro. And I'm like, oh, okay. Do you think just initially working with Plus will give as many, close to as many, or is it really worth the difference?
No, I think at the early doors, at the early stages, just go in at the entry level premium subscription so that you can start testing. Because what's going to happen is you're going to be on a guilt trip going, oh my God, I'm paying $200 and I'm not using this. And then you're going to cancel it. I always say that about tools. Use it for free, then go in at the next entry level. But I think creating your assistants, and you can create multiple assistants, you'll see a return on your $20 a month.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else?
That was brilliant, Joanne. Thank you so much for that. Can I just ask a question? If I have down, I have the plus version and I have it down, is it train the model for everyone? Does that mean that everything I put up there is in a closed loop and is safe?
Yes. And I did ask a legal expert on this, is our material safe? And they said, well, when you pay for it and that's the promise, yes, that's a legal agreement. So yeah, it's it's giving you access to the internet and the ChatGPT brain, but it's not sharing what you're creating with the rest of the ChatGPT users. Yeah.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Brilliant. Thank you.
A level of confidence and comfort. Yeah. I mean, I'm dying to upload my book to one of these models and go, just turn it into a course for me, right? Do you know what I mean? But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with my development partners in that sandbox environment, and I'm going to do it there just because of all the sweat and tears. I'm not going to hand it over. Although, did you hear Spotify updated, Orla? Spotify updated their terms and conditions. And they're saying that all of the content that we upload, they're going to use it to train their models. So that's our books. Yeah. But sure, listen, haven't they scraped everything? That's part of me is like, oh, whatever. I'm just going to try and stay in my own lane. You know what I mean? But I've heard a lot of creators and artists really unhappy with that because obviously AI is going to be used to create new music and everything.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's
audiobooks. Yeah. Yeah. And that's our next project, the audiobook.
But I know that so far, Amazon ACX, they're not accepting AI generated audiobook files, that they have to be still human.
Yeah.
So that's one plus, that it is still very much the human doing the audio versus just getting an audio just getting an AI bot to read out your book, you know.
Yeah, they want a human, which is great.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks,
Something
Joanne.
for you to investigate, and when you investigate it, come on the podcast and we'll talk about it.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
And that goes for all of you. When you have a little use case, come on the podcast and let's talk about it. I'd love to have you on. Ginger, what are your thoughts?
I was just wondering, I'm so excited about this. I saw you in Las Vegas speak, and I've read your book, and I really think that I've been in this industry for over 30 years, and I'm really excited about this path. So what advice would you give to be able to stay up on the trends and become a leader in this, I don't want to say industry, but in AI? Like, how, you went to Harvard, you went to, how can we stay up on those trends, and what would the pedigree be for us to be considered that leader?
Yeah, honestly, you do the 3 things that I put in that roadmap on chat, you're going to be in the top 5% in the world. I want you to mix that with your domain expertise. Harvard said that the people who are going to win are the people that combine AI with their domain expertise. So I want you to be able to explain what your domain expertise, not just marketing comms, it must be marketing comms and, is it government, local government? Hone that and then practice and get to tools, assistant, and agentic on very small use cases. Keep coming to I'll have free webinars every month. I will always commit to them. My podcast will help you. And bounce off your ideas, like even bounce your ideas off to me. If you've got something you want me to look at, let me look at it for you and give you feedback. Come on my podcast, tell me what you're doing, start writing about it on LinkedIn. And then maybe find, like, I subscribe to about 3 AI newsletters because I don't want to overwhelm myself. I want to consume what I can. And for me, the podcast was probably one of the smartest things I've done, not to build a tribe, but to help my knowledge bank. That teaches me. So you will learn by doing that, will give you competency and confidence, and then just choose a couple of knowledge sources that you choose to listen to, because there's so much out there. Just choose what floats your boats. But I mean, you got to the end of the book. Kudos to you.
It took me a long time too, because I was notating and sticky noting and doing lots of things. So it did take me a long time to get through.
Yeah, and hopefully the audio book will be out by Christmas, and that's a nice way to learn. You can be walking, doing housework, or in the car, and then that reinforces stuff. And Orla, I think we'll update the book and update the audiobook as we go, as the market evolves, won't we?
Absolutely. Yeah, completely.
Yeah. Orla will be on an annual retainer now to update my book so it doesn't go obsolete.
It'll be one way of keeping me in the loop for all the AI stuff going on. Yeah, completely.
Exactly. Okay. Any other questions or ideas?
Thanks so much, Joanne. Sorry, I just have to go there. Thanks so
Don't
much
worry.
again. Lovely to meet everyone. Bye.
Anyone else? No? Okay. Let me send the recording in the next couple of days, send you a bit of an action plan, and keep in touch. I always answer my emails. And I mean, if I don't answer in 24 hours, I'm probably busy. And never be afraid to send me a follow-up. Yeah, let's just kind of keep learning from each other. And if you want to come on my podcast, drop me a note. And thanks to Michelle as well for inviting me to Vegas and giving me that stage. That was wonderful. Definitely a highlight of the year. All right, guys. Have a nice evening. I'm going to pick up my teenager back to the real world. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Joanne. Bye.
Cheerio.